Today is the 30th of December 2023, and I wanted to share my key 16 learnings from this year. Currently, I'm staying in a fortress in the middle of nowhere in Mexico where I'm traveling for my New Year's quick vacation. And I'm here with my girlfriend and friends, and this place has been producing wine since 17th century, and this to this date is one of the most unforgettable locations I've ever stayed at. I was thinking what I want to share in this video for this finishing ending year, and put down some of my top notes and top takeaways from over a dozen of books I read and from a ton of experience I gained this year. And the first one I'd like to share is that inputs drive results. The reason it's so important is because many times in business you don't know how exactly you're going to be getting to your next milestones, and you might be lost not knowing, okay, do you focus on this or that? And this is when it is helpful to always come back to this point that whatever you want to achieve, there are certain inputs that lead to this goal. And this has transformed my business forever, because if, for example, beginning of 23, I was trying to do all things at once, not being sure what to focus on and so on. Now I know that if I want to get 10 meetings from cold email, I send cold emails. If I want to get more traffic from Twitter, I post more on Twitter. And as stupid and straightforward as it may sound, many times when you get to some complex or advanced things in business, you sometimes forget the basics. And I put this one as the number one learning, simply because it's so often overlooked that it leads to very costly mistakes. And that's why whatever you want to achieve, think of what are the inputs that lead to this goal, and this is going to make it way more straightforward how you get there. Second one is that this one comes from the book, which is called 0 to 300 million in no time flat. And I so far have not gone to the second part of the book, simply because the first one was so foundational for me that I just paused there and jumped into executing. Because the takeaway from this book was that if you are under 1 million in annual revenue, you want to focus 85% of your time and effort on sales and not other things. Yes, maybe sometimes your product is going to lag behind and this and that, but you don't need to overcomplicate it until you're hitting 85 grand a month for consecutive year, simply because there are numerous things you can focus on when running a business. However, sales drives all the other ones, sales and marketing. And unless your sales function is working properly, it really matters how the other ones are going to be performing. You can have the best product on earth, but with some of you who are watching it with nice products, you know that the earth doesn't stop there after you build this nice product and some of your features are not lagging. Unless you understand that you need to make your sales perform as an effective formula, you can do many other things. However, they will rarely, if not never, be as important, as tremendous as focusing on sales, because this controls the health of your entire business. The third one is that you choose how big the problem is. And I'm going to explain this one. During this vacation, we had some issues with the car. And for some of my friends who are working corporate jobs, this were like hell of an issue, especially comparing with the usual stress level they're exposed to in life. However, for me, an entrepreneur, I understand that, well, you always get to choose how big you want to make any problem. For instance, if you have issues with your campaign, if some person is not performing, is if someone another thing happened. You choose how much is going to affect you emotionally, and you choose how big the problem is. The thing which helped me is going for walks and going for a jog or running or exercising to get rid of the initial spike of emotions, to then evaluate the problem from a more calm spectrum. Many times you'll have really big problems, and when those happen, you will know. However, if something seems big and awful in the first few hours, I bet that 2 weeks later you might not even care about it that much. For that reason, just step away, take few hours going for a walk and catching your breath, potentially go exercise, at least it always helped me. And this way you can go through some very unpleasant situations. Next one is that people ahead of you are ahead of you for one of three reasons. They have more scars than you, they invested more in coaching, or they are more lucky than you. You sort of can control the level of your luck depending on how you invest, how you split inputs across different activities, but that's a topic for another video. For simplicity, I'll say, well, it's hard to control how lucky you are, and what you can control is how many scars you get and how much coaching you get, so that you can get ahead of others. None of us are keen to learn things by making costly and painful mistakes, and that's how it leads us to the route of coaching, where you can get life experience without experiencing the scars the other person had to learn those lessons. And this was a tremendous lesson for me this year, which got me to invest few tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, and that has, I guess, 5x'd my business since then. Next one, number 5, is that the sale is primarily built on two components. One is the gap, and the second one is the cost of inaction. Unless there are those two components, usually there is no sale, unless we're talking about super relationship based sales, which you know are unreliable, and you don't want to really build your business of those, because if you can only sell to friends, well, do you really have a business? The gap means how large is the bridge from point A to point B, from where they are now and from where they want to get to. If there is no bridge large enough, and if there is no gap, there is not enough incentive for them to take any action, i.e. purchase from you. We humans, it's in our psychology to be as distant from risks as possible, because previously in our history, whenever we were taking a risk or doing something against the tribe, which is what is supposed to be like going outside our comfort zone, this usually translated into danger and death. As we want to step away from any fatal scenarios, we are not keen to take risks. And that's why your job as a salesperson, as a founder, is to help people understand that what the actual gap is, where they are now and where they want to be at, and help them understand how actually much of a gap there is, and in other words, make it easier for them to understand why it's better to take the risk of sending you money rather than keep the things as they currently are and take the risk of basically not achieving this, but by keeping things as they are now. And this one translates to the second crucial component of the sale, which is cost of inaction. Cost of inaction is what is it costing them to be staying where they are. When the cost of inaction is low, there is no sale. For example, if a friend of mine tells me that, Denis, these sneakers are not as cool. I mean, yeah, sure, but this doesn't get me to run straight away and get those new sneakers. However, imagine that I'm in the desert and it's so hot that I cannot stand properly and my feet are burning. And I understand that there is another 20 kilometers to the closest point where I can get some water. Where do I have higher cost of inaction? Of course, when my friend told me so, I, well, sure, do care at some point. However, in the second one, the cost of inaction of me not purchasing the sneakers is so much higher that first I will get my feet burned, second I will die from not drinking any water, and third I'll die. And you see, and this is how, in one case, it's hard to convert me into getting sneakers for $200. In the second case, I can give away all my life savings just to get those. And this is how you can moderate different scenarios in your favor to go from selling a product for, say, 1K to selling the product 10K. You just simply sell to your sneakers to those people who need it as a mechanism to save their life, and not just as a nice to have. And this comes to the positioning game. Next one is you need to zoom out. And this is super important because week over week you might not be noticing how much you're proceeding at something. And that was very helpful when my COO has told me, Denis, can we just, yes, I understand that you might be a bit pissed that this week you are not doing better than previous week, but let us see where we've been 8 months ago and where we are now. And I was like, well, this is just worlds away how much progress we've made. And then he was like, well, you see, and zooming out helps you to evaluate whether you're on a good path or not. It's, some people say that you need to be able to say that in the last 2 years I moved somewhere. Well, sure, but in 2 years it's hard not to move anywhere. I would say that even judging by 3 to 6 months horizons, I think would be effective enough for you to see how much you've gone from the previous point. Zooming out helps you not to be as stressed about everything that goes on in your entrepreneurial life, and helps you see that how much actual progress you've made and the investment from the effort side you've made to be where you are today. Number 7 is daily gratitude. And this one potentially, again, is number 1 of all those things on the list, because a year ago I understood that, well, my business is doing not bad, however I cannot call myself happy. Since then I've been writing a gratitude journal each morning, and I know that it may sound, I don't know, mainstream or bullshit or whatever. Well, on a couple blogs I read about it and I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And it works, because if you start your day writing down I'm grateful for something, it programs your mind to start seeing many positive things that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And now when I meet some of my friends and even family members, I notice that, for example, in a day they notice 50 negative things, and I cannot hear them speaking about any positives. And I'm like, okay, can you just, for irony, tell what are 3 positive things that happened today? And they cannot do this. And this is showing you how much our minds are programmed to be noticing the negatives and overlooking the positives. And by building a habit of you noticing the positives, it really improves your mental health and helps you to not experience the problems as badly. I currently do this journaling every morning, and I think I've been consistent, if not all the 365 days from the past year, but maybe 95% of time. So I highly recommend it. Next one is 3 tasks. 3 tasks for the day, meaning that I used to put down lists of 10, 15 to-dos for the day, not complete half of those, and be stressed, and then my schedule for the week would be ruined. I decided to stop that and switch to the following thing. Now, at the end of my workday, I write 3 things I need to complete as the first thing in the morning the following day before I switch on my notifications. Next morning, I meditate, I journal, and then I just do those 3 things before switching to anything else. Not only it helps you to check off all the important things consistently before the day starts, but also it really helps you to push the needle forward. And when you continue to do that for imagine that every single day you complete the most important task which drives your business forward, and you do this for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. How on earth would you not 3x your business? It's like highly unlikely. So this one really helped. The next one is that your income means how well you solve expensive problems. You might be trying to solve expensive problems, but not doing it well and not be earning as much. Same time, you can be very good at solving inexpensive problems that no one cares about. For example, like bringing this rock from here to there. I mean, you can be the best person on earth doing that, but as no one cares about solving this problem, no one pays you for it, and that's how your income correlates to that. So many startup founders experience the same thing. They make a fantastic product which solves no problem, and that's why they're struggling to get any decent profit out of it. My role is usually helping them transition this job of placing rocks from one corner to another to to offering this job to another market in which someone would actually be willing to pay for this job. And my role as a B2B SaaS coach is that I would tell them, oh, how about we take your skill of placing rocks from here to there and start offering this to manufacturing companies in gold mining industry, and all of a sudden this thing that no one wanted to pay you $5 for, you can now sell for tens of thousands of dollars. And funnily enough, I've done this tens of times with literal scenarios close to that with just different SaaS products. It's all about who you sell it to and what you sell. Next one is gonna be number 10, and this one is get your free stuff to beat their paid stuff. This one comes from Harmozy, and many other people have been speaking about it, and well, sure, you hear it often unless you really start testing it. And only after I invested 4 months into writing a book, which you can download at saascamp.com/240, and you might find the link in the description as well. I spent 4 months writing the book, which I wanted to be the best resource a B2B SaaS founder may find to make it that there are no more issues with their pipeline, and basically to add 240K in annual revenue. You may go through it if you still haven't and tell me if I've done a good enough job. However, to this date, I've downloaded maybe tens of different, if not hundreds of different resources in SaaS world, and I, as egoistic as it may sound, have not found a better resource than the one I feel I've created. So please check it out and tell me if my words makes any sense, because from different startup founders I did hear that this is one of the best free resources they found on the topic, and on the topic of growing sales for B2B SaaS startups that are between, say, 5K MRR and 100K MRR. And this worked fantastically, because after people read over 100 pages that I put down there, And they told me that, look, there were so many learnings from it they couldn't find anywhere else. Of course, it was super powerful, and many of them transferred into um, like people who are now part of SaaS camp, which is great. So when you're doing free resources, keep in mind that people are going to be judging your paid stuff by the quality of your free stuff. And if your free stuff sucks, it's going to be challenging for you to convert people into paid stuff. Now you will ask me, Denis, but how do I give away all the paid stuff and still get them to purchase something from me? As a SaaS founder, practically the easier you make it for anyone to solve the problem, the more business you get. In an info business, it's somewhat similar. So just make your free stuff better so that people can just be very hyped up about what actually happens when they get to send you their money. Number 11 is that employee flex is not worth it. Half a year ago, I was running a company with 11, 12 employees, some part-timers, some full-timers, and I was doing that thinking, oh, I just hire a new person for any new repetitive task that appears, and this is how I'm gonna solve all the problems. And also, it was just so cool to say, oh, I've got a 12-person business. In reality, I now understand that with many people comes a lot of management issues, and it's just more managerial work. And I now understand that a powerful company of 5 employees beats a non-effective company with whatever 20, 40 people easily. If you can get 5 to 7 top performers to be in your team, you get it. And that's what I'm focusing on right now, keeping my team not as broad. However, every single person there is just, I'm from time to time keep getting surprised what different effective ways they find to solve issues and challenges that occur. So please don't chase employee flex. No one cares if you have like 10, 15 employees. They might only be hyped up about it for like few seconds. However, for you, please focus on profit and not that. Even though it's just easier to hire more people rather than achieve much better profit margins. Even though, please do focus on the profit. Next one, number 12, is the rule of 5 once. And this one was also super helpful. 5 once means that unless you are doing $1 million a year, you should be focusing one ICP, one problem of this ICP, solving it in one way, so one solution, acquiring people through one channel, and having one conversion mechanism, meaning you don't do funnels and one-on-one sales and selling through chat and tons of other things. However, you focus on the one single way to convert them into paid customers. Why this 5 once rule, which I learned from someone else, another author, is that when you're in your early stage of the company growth, the more things you do, the worse you do them, and the worse you execute on them. The more activities you need to be putting your effort and focus in, the less focus you actually put into them, and the worse you execute them. So for instance, if you at the same time do TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and cold email to acquire, manufacturing companies doing 10 to 15 million, and also to sell to creators in manufacturing industry who are this many followers, you will lose to the company who are just focusing on acquiring this manufacturing leads through LinkedIn and solving one problem for them. Next one is, after you fix this 5 once, is basically the number 13. Insanely hard to add an extra zero in your profit without taking more risks. Meaning that on the internet you may find so many people running info businesses telling you, oh, no risk opportunity, you just buy from me, and without any more risk you will achieve, I don't know, $1 zillion. Well, of course it's always, the grass is always green unless you purchase from them. And for that reason, what I can say is that, well, as getting to different levels in business is always about risk, and basically if you want to earn 10 times of what you're earning right now, you need to be willing to also take 10 times higher risks. Meaning, and yeah, basically from that, another good thing is that if you take risks in sales and marketing by putting more money into it, it's nearly never that it doesn't pay off. I, to this date, can hardly name investments I've made in sales and marketing, maybe partner up with one shitty agency for Facebook ads and like a couple more out of all the hundreds of experiments I've made, that were the situations when I put money and risk into sales and it didn't pay off financially for me. Something to think about here. Number 14 is the goal deconstruction thing. And this one means that if you have a goal of earning 10 million a year, you in your business can then deconstruct it into how many sales it requires to achieve it, and then how many, and looking at your campaign metrics, when done right, you should be able to say that it takes you this many inputs to convert into a sale. And from this formula, you will be able to see whether it makes sense or not. A while ago, I've done this deconstruction for my business, and we saw that in the business model we were pursuing, it was like no way how we could hit the financial goal we had in mind. And that's how we changed the positioning and the type of service we were offering to now a different audience. And that's when things started to move in the right direction. So deconstruct your goals and it will help you achieve them easier. Number 15, and it's going to be this one and last one then. Number 15 is get into stressful environments so you don't get stressed when the stakes are high. There were so many tough negotiations I had this year, both with, in all different environments. And if you have low stress tolerance, you really lose in business and in many other situations. Now you ask me, okay, how do you level up your stress tolerance? And you achieve it by creating more artificial stress in your life. I have done it by doing martial arts, running half marathons, which I've done a few in the past year, doing wrestling when having basically 2-meter tall guys throwing me upside down twice a week, and currently also going to the gym more often. When you expose yourself to such environments on a regular basis, when some campaign gets broken, you're like, okay, we fixed that. And the more you are in business, the more mature you become in terms of that, and more stress tolerance you get. For example, imagine that for Elon Musk, some detail on a rocket doesn't function properly. Yes, sure, if we look at this problem, it may affect the way the whole mission is set up and that the rocket will not reach the Mars. Right. However, I don't believe that Elon Musk doesn't sleep at nights just because one detail on the rocket is broken for now, meaning that he is so confident that he will be able to fix this issue, if not soon but later, that it is like solvable. And many challenges that occur in your business life, similar story. At first, they seem like tragedy. However, the more such situations you have, the easier it gets. And if you want to improve how you, for example, don't get as emotional when doing high stakes negotiation, or for instance when talking to your potential customers, when doing sales, not only I suggest you to practice this activity more, potentially rehearsing the negotiations and doing a few other things, but also by you adding more activities in your life which are about you doing activities that expose your body to stress, like lifting weights, martial arts, which I tried and started for that reason, and doing activities like that. Because if you regularly go through those, everything, well, not everything, but many of the problems which seemed like huge tragedy previously, now I go like this. And this is how you can build up your mental strength. And lastly, I want to finish with number 16, which sounds the following way: that with enough skill, you achieve anything. So invest in this, and the skills are gonna stay with you for life. This year, I've been primarily focusing on leveling up my sales game, on leveling up my lead generation skills, so that by now I've booked different B2B SaaS founders over, I don't know, approximately 1400 SaaS product demos. And by me putting effort into learning about lead generation for SaaS every day for, I don't know, 3 to 5 hours, this is where I am today. Skills are gonna be with you for life, and when your skills are practiced to enough extent, you can achieve things that you initially hardly believed possible. Couple times this year I got to different revenue stages with SaaS Camp and in some other areas of my life where 2 years ago if someone told me that you'd be doing this, I'd be like, yes, sure, I'm aiming for this, but it's gonna be a stretch. But by focusing on leveling up the skills, I got there. And it was really powerful when I looked at a certain thing and I saw, like, literally 4 months ago I didn't exactly know how to do this and I was not track on achieving this, but by focusing on it for enough time I nailed it. And this helps you build up such momentum and belief in yourself that helps you crash and hit all the other milestones that you have in front of you. Appreciate you watching this video, and these were some of my key learnings from this 2023. And soon I'm gonna go ahead to start planning for the upcoming year. Talk soon.